In 1990, the Africanized or hybridized honeybee became established in Texas and began migrating toward California. On October 24, 1994, pioneer swarms of these bees arrived in Southern California. The Africanized honeybee is closely related to the domesticated European honeybee. Because of this, the two bees can mate. Both bees look and act the same in many respects, except that the Africanized honeybee exhibits a highly defensive behavior while occupying their comb. Once Africanized honeybees have established themselves, they mate with the common European honeybee and produce highly defensive hybridized offspring. The problem is that all wild colonies will eventually become Africanized. European honeybees are commonly used in agriculture for crop pollination and are largely responsible for California's booming agricultural industry. Therefore, the eradication of all honeybees is not the solution. Although their killer reputation has been exaggerated, the presence of hybridized bees will increase the chances of people receiving multiple stings. Most of the time, honeybees are not dangerous. They seldom sting when gathering nectar and pollen from flowers unless they're provoked. A swarm of bees at flight, or briefly at rest, will seldom bother people, but bees do become defensive when they begin producing wax comb and raising young. Africanized honeybees are less predictable and more defensive than European bees. They are territorial in nature and more likely to defend a greater area around their nest. Africanized honeybees have a defensive perimeter of 50 to 100 feet and can sense a threat from people or animals more than 50 feet from their nest. They can also sense vibrations from power equipment such as lawnmowers or weed eaters 100 feet or more from their nest, which may cause them to become enraged. Although each bee can only sting once, Africanized honeybees attack quickly and in large numbers. They may pursue an intruder 1/4 mile or more and may stay on the scene for up to an hour or longer. All law enforcement calls for service concerning bees are divided into two categories: active or passive. An active Africanized honeybee call for service is a high-risk situation involving aggressive bees and may require an immediate response and coordination with fire and medical personnel. The call may range from a single victim suffering from anaphylactic shock to an overturned truck releasing millions of bees. When a call concerning bees is received, station desk personnel should ask the following questions to determine if the call is active or passive. Are the bees swarming? Is there a victim involved? Is the victim allergic to bee stings? Has the victim been stung numerous times? Is the victim immobile and currently being attacked? Does the victim need to be moved to a safe location? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then you have an active bee call. When responding to an active bee incident, personnel should respond with caution, and those deputies allergic to bee stings should be identified and excluded from the operation. When responding to an active incident, car windows should be kept closed at all times. Lights and sirens agitate bees, so they should be turned off prior to arriving at the scene. An active bee incident is similar to a hazardous material spill. Our first duty is to safely assess the situation and coordinate resources into the containment area. Identify and locate any victims and relay this information to the desk for fire and ambulance response.
Tag 11. SRC, the victim appears to be breathing and conscious. However, there's several bees out there.
Active bee incidents require a response by the fire department and paramedics. The fire department has appropriate protective clothing to enter an active bee incident. With a 3% solution of soap and water, they can hose down the area to subdue the bees before recovering and treating victims. In some cases, you may find an immobile bee sting victim with only a few honeybees in the immediate area. This person may have collapsed from a single bee sting or escaped the bee's defensive perimeter after being stung numerous times. Immediately request paramedics. Although some deputies may have already purchased their own honeybee survival gear, insect head nets or bee bonnets and heavy gloves are no protection against an Africanized honeybee swarm and will allow you only brief exposure to straggler bees remaining in the area. In a situation with few remaining bees, a fire extinguisher may provide some shielding to further remove a victim from the danger zone. Utilizing teamwork, one deputy should use a fire extinguisher or a garden hose with a wide spray nozzle to fend off straggler bees, while the other deputy removes the victim from the area. When in a safe zone, render first aid until paramedics arrive. The victim should be transported by ambulance and not your patrol car, since angry bees may be hiding under their clothing and emerge after you've initiated transportation. If bees attack you during a Code 3 run, an accident is imminent. A passive bee call usually means that a non-aggressive swarm or nest of bees has been sighted at a specific location and involves no victims. When a passive bee call is received, desk personnel should ask questions to screen out other stinging insects such as wasps and advise the caller to quarantine the area if possible. Bees will usually continue to behave passively if not disturbed. Private citizens should be discouraged from personally attempting to control honeybee colonies. This hazardous job should be left to trained pest control technicians. If a citizen is reporting a passive swarm outside or inside a location, you should advise them to call the Los Angeles County Agricultural Commissioner's Africanized Honeybee Hotline for a pest control office in their area by dialing 1-800-BEE-WARY. Due to the fact that passive bee incidents may turn active, desk personnel should advise citizens to remain in their homes until the bees are dealt with in some manner.
It's right up there on the hill that's...
Field deputies should contact the informant to verify the bee colony's exact location and to assess the situation. Any decisions to establish a containment should be made at that time.
Rodale, I'll stay here on Shetland, secure the backside.
If the citizen decides to leave the bees alone, brief them on the bees' possible aggressive reaction to the sound of lawnmowers, weed eaters, or other yard equipment. The Africanized honeybees' territorial nature, as well as their defensive reactions to children and pets within their immediate area, should also be explained. All honeybee swarms and colonies should be avoided. If you encounter bees, get away quickly and try to protect your face and eyes as much as possible. Entering thick brush or water will not protect you. If you are hiding in water, the bees will wait until you come up for air and then sting you. Do not stand and swat at bees, since rapid motions will cause them to sting. Seek protection by entering a building or a vehicle. If you do get stung, quickly go to a safe area and remove the stinger as soon as possible. Don't squeeze the stinger, since pressure will release more venom. Instead, scrape it out with a fingernail, knife blade, or credit card in a sideways motion, and then wash the area with soap and water and apply an ice pack for a few minutes to relieve the pain and swelling. If you are allergic to bee stings, If your breathing becomes troubled, or you have been stung numerous times, seek medical attention immediately. People can coexist with Africanized honeybees, but when this coexistence breaks down, it is the responsibility of safety personnel to deal with the situation.